hit it, and we have hit it. Mikey, we have hit it. We're on the air.
It's a Freaky Fractious Friday, and I salute you, New York Vinnie. It's our first Freaky Fractious Friday of 2024.
2024. Yes, let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
2044 is going to be a fabulous year. You're going to love it. Love it to death.
I can only hope that I'm here to see it. That's giving myself a lot of credit that I don't know that I have.
That's leeway. Oh, you got the credit. Credit's been extended.
I'm worried about when I say that now I lay me down to sleep at night. I really pray for the Lord the soul might keep, as many do at our age. You get a little older.
Where does he keep it?
I don't know. I'd like to find out.
Yeah, right.
Because he's got a lot of them. A few things. Can I change anything? How you doing, pal?
We're making it.
You're making it. I like your hat, the Commodore. Look at that.
This is my Christmas present from the grandkids and from Kailani and Steve. I am the Commodore.
You look like a Commodore with that hat on. You look like you could be on a ship somewhere.
But where? Let's see. Can I choose a place? I would say off the coast of France, heading down the coast toward Naples.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad place. Oh, look at this. I just stepped on something and it was Buck.
Poor Buck.
So much for Buck.
You know what the Los Angeles Dodgers have done? They've made everybody else in baseball feel inadequate, like they're not even in the league anymore, like their front office does nothing for them. And to some extent, they're right. And I think the San Francisco Giants and the Seattle Mariners and other teams that we follow and enjoy have to review how they pitch players when their time has come to make a deal. What do they say to them? What do they say to make them come play Seattle?
Well, I don't know what you can say to a player to come make him play somewhere or come have him play somewhere when, LA can offer the business opportunities and the exposure that no other city except New York possibly can.
Well, nobody makes more commercials than the players from the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's never been known as a media center.
Yeah, but what they get paid for those commercials, what they're getting made for those commercials. There's really only two players that are making the commercials, right? I mean, it's Kelsey, and would he be as popular if it wasn't for Taylor Swift? I don't think so. And and Mahomes, I mean, he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I don't think it's the fact that they're in Kansas City. If those guys, and you've heard this a million times, if those guys played in L.A. and New York, they'd be making 20 times the money on, from endorsements and everything else.
Well, I think you're right. They're not getting those jobs because they're from Kansas City. They're getting them in spite of the fact they play for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right. But when you sign a contract to play on a team in L.A. or New York or Miami or one of the major media markets, Chicago, I guess, to a certain extent, depending on the sports.
Except we don't have the evidence of the Chicago connection being any good for endorsements. Not recently.
Potential, to make money goes up. I mean, most of the other places you get an endorsement for. I mean, if you come to Seattle, unless you are a superstar player, what are you going to do? You're going to do you're going to get a car from the car dealer on Aurora Avenue, and maybe you're going to get an endorsement from a local restaurant chain, or
a real estate company in West Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not the same. You go to L.A. and what are you getting? You're getting national exposure, national companies. Or New York, the same thing. You're in the media center.
You know who doesn't use sports endorsements is the tech sector of our country. Microsoft doesn't need a shortstop to sell Microsoft products. Microsoft doesn't need a basketball player to sell laptops.
Well, I'm trying to think if I
What
can think
about
of.
Amazon? They do.
Yeah, I mean, Amazon does. It depends on I guess on the commercial, on the tech company. Now, if you consider Bitcoin tech, there was a whole lot of athletes there, including Tom Brady and a bunch of other ones who
They provide
were
the
hired
mirrors.
by that clown
The
with the
Bitcoin
hair.
people, the Bitcoin guys provide the mirror, and you provide the smoke.
Yeah, and it's funny because you don't hear them being held liable for anything that went on. Oh, we just paid us to say this.
I was
Well,
reading what they wrote.
right, how many people listen to what you said? I mean, you got to be careful when you endorse products. I mean, we know this. You don't want to endorse something that's a fraud or that's a problem. Knock on wood.
It's like
Uh,
going on the Pat McAfee show. You never know what the backlash is going to be.
well, I don't think I'll be going on the Pat McAfee show anytime soon, but yeah,
Can
but
you?
there's a
You
perfect
have to
example.
talk.
Aaron Rodgers is, I
I
guess, what
want.
was
I
he
want.
doing? State Farm commercials,
Not
right?
anymore.
And now everybody's shying away from it. I mean, here's a guy who's working in the biggest media market in the country, New York,
And he's doing the Pat McAfee show
and he
for.
can't, and he probably can't get an endorsement to save his life. Now he probably doesn't care because they paid him so much money to go play there. And in Aaron Rodgers' fashion, he blew out his Achilles tendon on the fourth play of the game.
But he had at one point the cachet to be able to be the guest host for game shows. He was acceptable. He was
Well,
accepted
yeah,
in the wider community as
I,
a
I, I,
television star
yeah.
besides a
I
quarterback.
mean, this is what you have. This is bad. This is what you call bad handling, Michael. This
Yep.
is what you call people that are handling you, that are looking out for you, that aren't looking out for you. Some people will call it rugged individualism. That he didn't care about the endorsements. He said what was on his mind. He was true to himself. Well, yeah, to a certain degree, that's right. But if you're going to be true to yourself, you have to be willing to say, I don't care about the game show hosting, or I don't care about the State Farm commercials, or I don't care about all of that stuff. I'm just going to go out there and espouse conspiracy theories and hang out with people that want to rip the fabric of this country apart.
By the way, Nikki Haley and Pat McAfee have to do a show together because they both, each in their own way, have the weirdest hand gestures on the planet. They actually suck the energy out of the universe the way they speak with their hands. It
Well,
must.
I
And it's,
actually
and
want.
it's, and
I had never watched the Pat McAfee show, to be honest with you, and I went and I watched it. I don't know. Yesterday, I watched part of it, and I saw what you meant about. He stands there and he moves the hands all around and this and that. I don't know who this cat is. I don't know much about him.
he was a punter.
I wouldn't. Well, yeah. I mean, I knew he was a player, but I don't know much about his political. I don't know much about anything. He's a character. He's a character, and he is. And listen, Aaron Rodgers makes a lot of money to go on that show. You talk about endorsements. I read that he's making $1 million a year going on that show.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Yeah, that he's a paid. He does a show every week. He gets paid for it, and he's making upwards of 1 million, according to a couple of media sources. I don't know if that's true or not, but
Well, it makes sense because they don't seem to be the best of friends. It just doesn't make sense.
well, and yeah, I mean those guys. But again, here's another guy that he had a great gig in Green Bay. He managed to figure out a way to blow that. He So now he goes to New York, and
Falls afoul of Mother Nature.
well, he hurts himself. Not obviously not intentionally, but you got to say to yourself that here's a guy who should be in a position to do as well as possible, especially if he wins in New York. But again, it's an unforgiving media market. And when you make a mistake in New York,
You're not likely
it
to
takes a
forget
while for people to forget it.
or ever forget it. Never forget it, never forgive it.
Well, yeah, I don't know, Michael. I think there's people, I think things are different now. I think that, uh, listen, they forgive Donald Trump for what he's done. So
For
I don't
everything.
think,
Some people
I,
get forgiven for each and every mistake they make because
yeah,
all they
I,
make is mistakes.
but, listen, there's a lot of people in New York that agree with Aaron Rodgers and his way of thinking. So I don't know. All I know is here's a guy who, uh, you know, to go back to the original premise. Yeah, these guys that are signing, I don't know that the Mariners or the Pirates or the Royals or name another team that's in a second tier market.
Brewers.
Yeah, how do you attract top line free agents? But it's always been like that. This isn't something that started yesterday. You
Well,
know,
I just wonder if their pitch and their presentation and their offer is sophisticated or if it's just a handshake over tuna melts.
well, when the pitcher that just signed with the Dodgers, he
Yamamoto.
was being courted by Steve Cohen and the New York Mets, and the big pitch to him was they took him out to the mansion and had dinner with them, and I don't know what the whole pitch was, but it certainly wasn't enough. So
The Giants brought in the Yamamoto got to spend the afternoon with Buster Posey, who he doesn't know, and who's now an executive with the Giants. And they walked around the stadium and told him that everything he'd heard about the right field and the right field alley weren't true. It wasn't as far away as it seemed. This was a pitcher's ballpark. It was a place where he could succeed. And obviously, whatever stories they spun did not resonate because it took 2 days for them to commit to the Dodgers.
well, listen, I kind of firmly believe that these people kind of know where they're going before they do the tour. They go on the tour and they talk to other teams because their agents or whoever tell them you want to make a good showing here. You want to look like you're interested in other places.
And
But the
this is how
reality is,
jack up the bottom line too.
yeah, you're going down. You live here. Why would you move there? You're staying here. You said you want to stay on the West Coast. That cuts down your teams. Maybe if somebody makes you an unbelievable offer, which the Dodgers did, but it's interesting that they made him an offer that gave him money on the back end of the contract so that they can afford to go out and sign other people that are of a superstar status.
It's true. They probably said if you sign under these circumstances, we can go out and get more players to support your effort.
Exactly. Exactly. The
Now,
Mariners, when they were courting Alex Rodriguez, sent them out to play golf with Bill Gates. You know,
how did that work out?
well, where did Alex? Alex went to Texas, and he only went to Texas because he was rebuffed by the Mets. His original idea upon leaving here was to go and sign with the Mets.
That would have been an interesting idea.
And unfortunately, the Mets, as they often do, stuck their foot in their mouth. Actually,
Oh,
really probably didn't want to sign him, to be honest with you, when they kind of saw what was going on with him. Because if you remember, they let out the whole thing about Alex wanting his own office and his own separate room to get dressed in and all this other stuff. That whether it was true or not, it was floated out there as a rumor, and it kind of killed everything from the Mets. He turned around and signed with Texas then.
well, if you remember back in those days, Barry Bonds was doing that with the Giants. He had his own chair, his own dressing area, his own representatives, his own food, his own. he was able through his demands to not even mix with the team really, except on the field.
Right,
It was not a good atmosphere.
Right, the Mets weren't going to have that. I believe it was Steve Phillips at the time who was the
Also,
general manager.
Russell Wilson tried the similar thing with Denver, and it didn't work with Peyton there as a coach.
Well, yeah, the sad thing about Russell Wilson is it seems that he has diminished skills. That works if your skills are on the rise. If your skills are going this way, I don't know that it works.
They're pulling Fresno techniques on Wilson now. Renegotiate your contract, or you never play again.
Well, yeah, I mean, he hasn't done anything in Denver to prove, though, that
he's worth better consideration.
That he's worth better consideration. I've sucked for the past year and a half, so how about giving me a raise? That only happens in baseball.
Well,
that doesn't happen in football.
Bobby Bonilla, how you doing? All right, thanks for asking.
Yeah, what day is it? Oh, it's almost Bobby Bonilla Day. And Russell Wilson, and listen, to his credit, I guess Pete Carroll saw this. I mean, that could go down as one of the all-time fleecings in NFL history.
It really benefited Seattle, but not as much as it would appear on paper.
No, I think it. Well, I don't know. I think it benefited Seattle on paper. They rebuilt their whole team on trading Russell Wilson. They got enough draft picks to go out and get top line young talent in the draft and rebuild that team.
Should have gotten some instructions on how to play the Steelers or the Stillers if you.
It would have helped. Well, again, they got a quarterback in the deal that they haven't used, which again befuddles me as to why they decided to sign Geno Smith for so much money when I thought that the object of their affections in the whole deal was Drew Lock.
May still prove to be.
Yeah, it may wind up being. But I don't know. I don't make the decisions.
Speaking of football, I know you watched the Huskies. We didn't discuss their game with.
Yeah, Texas. We're going to have to. Yeah, we'll. We need to.
My line for that one is the Huskies tried to coug it and failed.
Well, yeah, they certainly. It would certainly look like in the last few minutes of that game that they were doing their darn best to give it away. It looks like, I think this is a fascinating game. I don't think you can tell me who's going to win this game.
Well, whoever scores 31 points wins.
Well, I just, I think that, Penix is going to go out there and let loose and throw the ball, and Michigan is going to run the ball at him.
Just protect Penix and you win. Just protect him.
And I think that's, I think that, I think I can't even look at him and say, well, this one is the better team than the other one. Can you? I
think Penix is a more versatile quarterback than McCarthy.
Oh, yeah. And I think that the experience of the Huskies in so many games this year where it looks like they had to come back, they had to figure out a way, in battle to win. It wasn't that they were cruising to a win. They were behind in how many games. And they and their coach and Penix and everybody figured out a way, solved what that other team was doing, and exploited what they weren't, and went on to win.
I think they have more dynamic offensive weapons than Michigan. Not that Michigan isn't a good team, but they're 3 yards in a cloud of dust still. And Harbaugh has never impressed me as a coach, either with the 49ers or Michigan. I know that's weird with the fact that he's number one in the nation. But that's still how I feel about him in terms of his vision.
Well, listen, Washington has the guy that probably should have won the Heisman Trophy. I mean, it's hard for me to understand, but I'll nothing phases me in sports anymore. I think that Michael Penix can put that ball where he wants to put it when he wants to put it there.
Remarkable
He
tosses
can
in
throw
that
he
game.
can throw it into 4 defenders and thread a needle like I don't know that I've ever seen a guy throw a ball and thread a needle like he has and put it between 2 guys going this way with one guy just right under here, and he gets the ball to the guy right under there. It's amazing what he does. And he's gotten better as the year has gone on.
Yep, and he's avoided injury.
He's avoided injury. He's gotten better as the year has progressed. Um, but I'm still not ready to say. I mean, I thought actually. I mean, it was funny. I thought that the Huskies might wind up being the favorite in this game, but they're not. I think they're 3.5 point underdogs in this thing.
Well, if the Eastern bias accounts for anything, it accounts for the fact that the Pac-12 probably won't get the benefit of anybody's doubt.
Yeah, I just think that his. I mean, in Texas, in that game against Texas, which about as a high pressure game as you can get, he was 19 of 22 as 3 receivers, 2 touchdowns, 353 yards. I mean, and plus he can take off and go.
Oh, yes.
He has no problem tucking that ball and starting to fly. He's got a potent trio of receivers, as I said, and I think, and this is where the coach comes in. I think that the coach has put a what do you call it? The guys on the team seem to work together. They seem to trust each other. They seem to mesh real well. From what you see out here, I don't know. I'm not covering the team every day. I'm not out there at practice every day. I'm not seeing what's going on every day. But from appearances, it looks like that these guys are all for one for all. Whatever Kalen DeBoer is selling them,
They're buying it.
they bought it. They're in. And when you have that situation, they believe in him.
And it looks like it's paying off with commitments from high school stars around the area that are deciding to be Huskies.
Well, who doesn't want to play for a team that played for the national championship?
Good
Right?
point. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that they don't have to go out and recruit anybody that they, say, okay, this one, that one. I mean, I'm sure they have to go out and, make deals and so on and so forth. But
They better make better pitches than the Giants do.
well, I don't know, Michael. Baseball is this past off season in baseball, and it's hard to believe that what are we,
40,
a month?
39 days.
Yeah, 39 days away. You knew exactly where I was going. um, it's really hard to believe that the money that has been thrown around and numbers that are being thrown around for baseball players. But I mean, it's just inconceivable that you can pay somebody $700 million to play baseball.
Well, they haven't paid him yet.
Well, they're going to pay him. I mean, they signed a deal, so they're going to pay him unless he gets caught in a parked car in a dress or something. And even then, you know, I don't know. I uh I, I find it hard to believe that somebody's worth that kind of money. I find it hard to believe that another human being says you are worth this kind of money.
especially when he committed to a team that couldn't beat the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Well, but that's the idea, Michael, is that he goes there and he they'll now be able to beat the Arizona Diamondbacks. But I want to stick with the Huskies for a second because I do think that um, that one thing that I've noticed and I just have wondered about this. I thought that this town would be more on fire. Now I wasn't here in '92. You were here in '92 when that half national championship team was was on the field. The Steve Empman, Billy Joe Hobart team that was out there. I mean, I would have to think that the town was pretty fired up about that. I haven't sensed that so far here. Now,
I wonder why.
well, because I think I mean, the Husky fans, don't get me wrong, the hardcore Husky fans are fired up.
It's just because the
I mean,
quarterback's not from Puyallup.
well, no, I don't think it's that. I just don't. I wonder how all of this transfer portal stuff and everything has affected college sports. I wonder if it's taken a bit of a toll on it. Now, I know I do know that Monday night, you'll be able to drive from here to Puyallup in 20 minutes.
There'll be nobody on the road.
There'll be nobody on the road. It was like that last week. There was nobody on the road. You could go all over the place. And the bars will be full. So I expect it. And maybe it's the way we live now. Maybe people don't get excited about these things anymore as they used to.
Well, it's pretty hard to believe that Husky fans are not going through the roof, but maybe they're
Well, I
just
said
being.
the fans are. I mean, if you look at my Facebook feed, the fans are nuts. But usually when something like this happens, you see the TV stories about the little old lady in the produce section. And she's got her, 1962 Husky sweatshirt on,
Yeah.
you know, and she can tell you everybody's name on the team and everybody's stats. And I haven't sensed or I haven't seen a lot of stories like that. Haven't heard a lot like that so far. So I don't know why I'm not getting that feeling. I think listen, the people I know that are Husky fans, they're involved with the program, that have gone to games, the season ticket holders, they're excited. Guys like Dow Constantine, he's off the moon.
And
Dave
they should
off
be
the moon.
confident, Vinny. They should be confident, I should think, because it's not like they're overmatched against Michigan. They've got very much I think a more dynamic team in terms of offensive weaponry.
Right, they're not there because they got lucky. They got there because they're good.
Yep.
Simply. There's just and I think you're right. I think you could make a pretty damn good case that they're better than Michigan.
Well, they always say, but Michigan plays Ohio State. Well, the Huskies play Oregon. The Huskies play USC. The Huskies play a lot of teams out there that are dynamic and winnable.
The Huskies played a whole lot of teams this year that all of those conferences where Ohio State and all those other teams play hustled them off to their conferences. So there must be something there.
They will rue the day they brought the Pac-12 to the Midwest. That ain't going to fly.
Well, it's flying. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, what? It's ridiculous. It's stupid. The only possible benefit to it is that
Money.
fans are going to get to see games earlier. They're gonna get up and games are going to be on at 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning.
8 o'clock kickoff. Don't miss it. Don't miss the Pat McAfee show. He's waving his arms in the air at Nikki Haley.
He's waving his arms, and all of a sudden, two planes crashed into each other. They thought he was a control tower guy. So I don't know. I will. I mean, I'll let's wait till Monday to do predictions, but it would shock me. I just, again, I can't for the life of me look at this and figure out who I think is going to win this game.
31-17 Washington.
Well, from your lips to God's ears, right? I mean, listen, if they can figure out a way to take away Penix's receivers, maybe they got something.
I haven't seen that type of defense from Michigan. Maybe against the run, they're effective. But Vinnie, I don't think Michigan can score over 27 points. And I know Washington can. And whoever scores the most wins is if the game is still played the way it was last week. So Michigan is not a high-scoring team. I don't expect them to score over 27. And I think you have to score more than 31 to beat the Huskies.
Yeah, I think it's hard to argue with that. I mean, I just they're going to have to break the Huskies' rhythm.
Turnovers could be
Penix has a rhythm with his receivers that you rarely see. And I think it goes back to what we were saying before, is they buy into the coach buys into them. There's a synergy that goes on there.
And it's a dynamic West Coast offense. Yeah, that West Coast offense. A lot of passing and a lot of chance taking. Bombs. Daryl LaMonica, Mad Bomber.
Yeah. I mean, the Huskies had passing, 39 passing plays longer than 30 yards.
See? I just don't see the Wolverines being able to defend against that consistently. Barring turnovers. Now, everything goes into a cocked hat if you start throwing the ball to the wrong guy. You can ask Brock Purdy about that.
Yeah, well, it's
and I don't know why stuff ends up in a cocked hat when things go wrong, but that's the way it is. Nothing ever goes into an uncocked hat.
Well, it's yeah, I mean, and the offensive line, let's go back to that for I mean, we're talking so much about
protection.
I don't even think they got close to Penix in the Texas game, did they? I mean, he didn't get sacked, but I don't even know that they got close to him.
They never got through. And then on the other hand, the Huskies did sack Texas a number of times.
So, but again, can you run against him? Can you protect against him throwing those long passes? Can you protect those receivers? Can you get, and even if you're protected on the receivers, can you then stop them from running the ball? Because they do know how to run the ball. They ran it up Oregon's gut. So I think it's just going to be one of the most fascinating football games we've seen around here in a long time. Because
I don't know why they're playing it in Houston. I guess it's some sort of a rotation of.
Oh yeah, it's
suitable stadium.
What they should have done is they should have just said, you know what, it's Michigan, it's Washington, we're going to play it in the Rose Bowl.
That would be cool.
That would have been cool as a final tribute to the Pac, whatever it is this week, the Pac-2, I guess it is now, right?
The Pac-0.
Yeah, it'll be. They just should have took it back to the Rose Bowl. Now that's where I think I think that was some of the I don't know, maybe some of the lesser enthusiasm is around that it wasn't in the Rose Bowl. Although again, this place was pretty enthusiastic Monday night. So again, like I said, there was
You can't
you
complain that it's
drive from here to the city in 5 minutes.
if you're a fan, you can't complain that it was in New Orleans. That's a good town with great food, great hurricanes on the street, and they know how to throw a party.
Mikey, you know Husky fans, they could complain about anything.
Did they complain about hurricanes?
I don't think so. Everybody I
Maybe they
saw,
complained about red beans and rice. Whoa, too spicy.
everybody on my feed, my Facebook and my social media feeds that I look at that I know are Husky fans, um, were enamored with New Orleans. Were had a great time. I mean, I know there's probably about 25, 30 people on my social media feeds that are either headed toward Houston, in Houston, went from New Orleans to Houston, rented a car in New Orleans and are dropping it off in Houston, stole a car
They're like
in
deadheads.
New Orleans. Yeah, I mean, it is. They're on the road now and they're following the team and they're trying to, I mean, there's people looking for tickets all over the place. So it's definitely a demand game. There's people I noticed at least two or three people on my feed that are driving from here down to Houston. There's four of them in a car, no tickets. They're just going down there.
Just to be close.
They're hoping that they get a ticket. You know how that works. I mean, we've talked about that a million times.
You work the stadium and you got to have cash on hand.
Yeah, you show up at there's no event that you can't get a ticket to. It's just how much are you willing to do and how much are you willing to pay to get a ticket. I mean, this is let's see, the last time this happened was 92. So, it's 30 something years, 31 years.
I'm kind of crazy to ask this question, but is it illegal to scalp still?
I don't think so. Yeah. I think that's all. I think that's a boat that sailed a long time ago. I mean, you can go on StubHub and
Where did it
sites
go?
like that.
The boat sailed and went to Bimini.
It went to Bimini, and unfortunately, it didn't have some people we were hoping that would be on it.
Was Jimmy Kimmel on the boat?
Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah, funny how Jimmy Kimmel didn't show up anywhere in those papers, huh?
No, I'll be damned. Aaron Rodgers is usually right on. You can't look at Aaron Rodgers and say, "What a bag of gas."
No, not him. Not him. He ought to publicly apologize to Jimmy Kimmel, I think. Pat McAfee ought to have him on the show and say, "Listen, I was wrong. Did you see McAfee backtracking?"
I don't see him. Can he wave his arms in reverse?
Yeah, no, he was. He was. Oh no, that's a guest that we have on the show, and his opinion is his opinion, and yada yada. It wasn't us, and because they're both owned by the same company.
A disclaimer: ABC said, "Here's what you're going to say."
Yeah. ABC told Disney, "This is what you're going to say. Otherwise, we're in trouble here. We got our late night guy ready to quit on us and go to CBS." Where have we heard that one before?
Well, there's only 3 shows, so you got to ring around the rosy when it's time to move chairs.
Well, there's always Fox, right?
Or as Conan O'Brien proved, there's not always TNT.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, when you go into those, the cable channels, you lose a lot.
Yeah.
Although, with streaming these days and everything, if you're good, you're hot, people are going to find you. I mean, that's one thing that one observation that I certainly am making these days is that if you have a hot show, if you have something that people want, they're going to make the effort to find you. Um, and you have the advantage of using social media to
Promote yourself.
promote yourself, to put yourself out there, to put a little snippet on TikTok on what you're doing, and hopefully you get some people over. Now, the bad side of that is you always seem to be trying to say something that will make a 15-second imprint on TikTok, and that your program director can run and cut up and put it on social media so a million people will follow you all over the place.
Well, you're asking the program director to use judgment and editing prowess, and that's too much for a program director, Vinny. Too many requests.
Well, they have to do something to earn their keep. And
Bar the morning
cutting
man.
up, cutting up and put stuff on social media is probably right in their wheelhouse. Oh man, it's so anyway. It's gonna be interesting to watch this. I'm excited. Again, I'm very excited to watch this game. I don't know if I'm going to watch it here or if I'm going to
Is
go
that an
out
earthquake?
someplace and watch it.
I think we just had an earthquake here.
Really?
Well, my chair shook, and the cats wanted to know what was going on. They still do. Huh?
He didn't move.
It was tiny, but if it was one, could have been a truck going by.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's part. Although, listen, I lived in a place. I mean, when I lived in San Francisco, I lived on that 14th Street on that hill, and when the truck would go down that street, man, that street that comes off of Twin Peaks, I forget
Yeah.
that street. I mean, it would feel like an earthquake. Now, well, we're talking football. Well, we're talking about all the things that we have to remember in the game of football. You
Yeah.
have the Seahawks fighting for their lives in Phoenix against the St. Louis Cardinals.
Or the Phoenix Cardinals.
Well, I always like
Latest.
to call them the St. Louis Cardinals. Although you can also call the other team the St. Louis Rams. You can actually get 3 teams out of St. Louis, can't you? So the Seahawks 8-8. They got to go down there. They got to play Arizona. It was 4-12, but maybe a little better than their 4-12 indicates.
But the disruptive front office, they're thinking of parting with their quarterback. It's a messy. It's as messy as Denver is. So is Phoenix or Arizona. It's a football team that doesn't have enough prowess to have a city, so they represent a state.
Well, it's definitely going to be. Listen, they're going to have to stop the run. It's that simple. They've gone from one of the best run defenses in the league to one of the worst. 202 yards the Steelers racked up against the Seahawks last week. And I don't know how you fix it. I mean, how do you fix it?
I always start with the linebackers. If you can't stop the run, what's going on there?
It's the second year that it's played out like that. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to be. They had their destiny in their hands, and they let the Steelers come in here and push them around, and I think that's pretty sad. To
It's
be
like
honest with you.
it's like they had too much turkey for Christmas.
Well, something wasn't right. Something has shifted on this team. And
their focus.
Some stats here. I mean, I'm just looking at the stat. first 8 weeks of the season, they were number one against the run, second in yards per carry against the run, and sixth in yards per game. Now, after the Ravens, who rushed 35 times for 268 yards, that one guy, Keaton Mitchell, 138 of those yards, they couldn't stop. I mean, they couldn't stop anything in Baltimore. And since then, what have they done against the run? So, if you're the Cardinals, you're just going to stuff the ball up their gut, aren't you?
Start running and keep running. Keep the ball, burn the clock.
Take Mike Tomlin's game plan and just use it. Use your best guys on the run and see what you can do. Again, you go through the list of games here.
This is a team that the Seahawks should have beaten in midseason form. They should have taken Arizona without much of a complaint.
Yeah, they should. They should take them, but nobody really knows. And then you add to that, the continued inconsistency of Geno Smith, and you have a recipe for a sub 500 season.
Can Geno Smith do the Pat McAfee show on a quick hurry up basis?
Wave his arm. We might be booked. You have an obsession with Pat, don't you?
I just can't believe that somebody on television is going to let him wave his arms like that. But that's why I want him to have Nikki Haley on the show. She's got, because
she moves her arms around too.
She has the strangest, most distracting hand gestures I've ever seen in a politician.
Yeah, she's worth watching. I mean, listen, I'm not a big fan, but if she can knock off Slapdick, which I don't know what she's gonna do, but
no,
if she can knock off Slapdick, I'll stand there and grease her arms while she moves them.
This is Fairleigh Dickinson against Alabama. That's what it amounts to.
Well, it will be. Well, listen, it's going to. Maybe they need to get Nikki Haley in to play quarterback for the Seahawks.
Bad hands, I'm telling you.
Well, it's going to be fascinating to watch with the Seahawks. I mean, what defense will come out there on Sunday? Will everything that happened in practice this week point to them being able to, defend a team who has a clear blueprint in how to beat them?
I think you also have to take advantage of the fact that I believe Arizona is a team in turmoil. Front office, coaching, quarterback, the whole thing is a question mark.
Yeah. And wouldn't you know that Arizona happens to be one of the better teams in the league? They don't do much well, but they're the sixth best in the league with the run.
Their own run? Or versus
well, it's 116.3 yards per design run, according to Stats Incorporated, which ranks them at sixth in the league. They're third in yards per attempt since week 10, eighth in yards per game, and I'm reading the article from The Athletic now. Cardinals racked up 210 yards and a touchdown on 38 attempts in their win over the Eagles.
Arizona beat the Eagles this year?
Arizona, yeah, they beat them last Sunday.
Oh. I don't think Jalen Hurts played, did he?
I think he did.
Wow, how the mighty have fallen.
Well, yeah. As much as we're complaining here in Seattle about the Seahawks, what do you think Philadelphia sports radio sounds like? They were booing. I mean, I heard the game on the radio. I didn't see it. I heard part of it on the radio, and at the end of the game, they were booing the Eagles off the field.
They were setting up the guillotine downtown.
Well, this is the team that everybody thought was going to the Super Bowl, right? The Eagles. I mean, they were undefeated. How deep into the season?
They look great.
They were the prime cut. They looked great. They looked like nobody could beat them, except everybody started beating them.
It was a strange, unpredicted turnaround
It,
or
it,
turn
it, it,
down.
it,
Who did that song? It's a turn down day. Remember that song?
Circle.
The Circle,
It was the follow up to Red Rubber Ball.
which was a Paul Simon song that wasn't quite
Good
the
enough for
same.
Simon and Garfunkel.
No,
So he sold it to the Circle, and the Circle recorded it, and then they did and then was it the follow up or was it the B side?
good point. I don't think
Might have been the B side
there
actually
wasn't much
too.
of a follow up to The Circle.
Yeah, and that's the CYKRLE if I remember right. The Circle.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
CYRK.
yeah, CYRKLE, the Circle. Who I believe, if I'm not mistaken, were all active military members.
I know there was one guy in there that looked like Lynn Barry. I kept thinking he's a stand-in, but it wasn't him.
Yeah, I believe they were. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they were the second group to have a hit that were active members of the military. The first were the Essex.
They were Marines.
Yeah, easier said than done.
It's
Uh, easier
easier said
said than
than
done.
done.
Well, I know. Yeah, I believe that they were. Yeah, I believe that, and I believe the Circle might have been the second um,
And the
group with
Essex also
active.
had doo boop boop diddy, didn't they?
The Circle? No, that was Manfred Mann.
No, Essex.
Oh, the Essex. I don't know what their second.
Boy from New York City.
Oh no, no, that was the ad libs.
You're right.
Yeah, that was the ad libs.
They had a similar sound.
Yeah, every they were all on the same floor in the Brill building. 15th floor was doo wah diddy diddies. 16th floor was ooh wah wahs. 17th floor was boom bitty boom bitty boom boom boom.
And who
And
put
then
the bomb?
the 18th floor was Phil Spector's office.
Oh dear. Target practice.
I you know I think it's a shame that they didn't take the Rock and Roll Museum and put it in the Brill building.
That would have been nice. 16, what was it? 16 something
1640, I
Broadway.
think. I think it's 1640
Broadway.
Broadway. Um, yeah, I think that was 1619.
And no matter what you did, no matter how many stories you heard, people still signed with Roulette Records.
Hey, going to
Don't do
put
it.
your name in every jukebox in Brooklyn.
Don't do it. Don't do it. You do
You
it. You
do
do
it,
it.
you do it, or you do it. The Brill Building. Yeah, last I saw the Brill Building, they were redoing it. They were. Um, I'm just trying to see if yeah, they were. Yeah, they're. Yeah, they were
Renovating it.
redoing. Yeah, they were renovating it at one point. Somebody had bought it a couple of years ago, but God, now I've crawled into a rabbit hole because
Brill
Now
building.
I'm looking at the writers, the list of writers that were headquartered in the Brill Building. Burt Bacharach and Hal David, Burt Burns, Otis Blackwell, Sonny Bono, Boyce Hart, Neil Diamond, Sherm Edwards, Tony Orlando, Andy Kim, Giant Baum and Kay, Goffin and King, Greenwich and Barry, Hamlish, Artie Kornfeld, Lieber and Stoller, Mann and
Lieber and
Well,
Stoller.
Glenn Guthrie and Harris Fry, Shadow Morton.
Oh,
It is one you don't hear too often, right?
Vanilla Fudge.
Thomas and Schumann, Sedaka and Greenfield, Paul Simon, who worked under the name Jerry Landis. He had a lot of aliases. What was he running from, Paul Simon, in the early days? And then Phil Spector, Eddie Snyder, Bobby Susser, Steve Tyrell, all headquartered in the Brill Building. Musicians who were headquartered in the Brill Building: Bobby Darin, The Drifters, Benny King, Connie Francis, Leslie Gore, Harris Fire, Darlene Love, Liza Minnelli, Fagan and Becker, Gene Pitney, the Ronettes, the Shangri-Las, the Shirelles, the Sweet Inspirations, Doris Troy, Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, D.D. Warwick, Dionne Warwick, and the Delicates.
The Delicates?
The Delicates.
Them I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if I know them either, be honest with you. But boy, and I wouldn't even start going through the
song titles.
The song titles and the musicians that
think of all the demos that were cut in that building.
Yeah, that played there. Unbelievable. I'm just looking at some of the Burt Collins, Jimmy Maxwell, King Curtis on saxophone, Sam the Man Taylor, Bobby Rosengarten. Yeah, incredible roster of musicians, and of course, the publishing company that was so predominant. As a matter of fact, they didn't, and it was funny because their publishing company was not in the Brill Building. Their company was a block away at 1650 Broadway. But two guys named Al Nevins and Don Kirshner.
Don Kirshner, was he in the
Al
business?
Don Music.
Yeah.
Who had through one way or the other.
Mostly the other.
And yeah, and it's interesting to and then there's a list of businesses that were at the 1619, which was the Brill, and 1650, which I believe were Atlantic Records, wasn't it? Wasn't that their
1840?
1840, okay. But it was that strip of Broadway. I mean, it used to be Tin Pan Alley.
Right, because Atlantic was at Columbus Circle.
Right. You ever want to see a good movie about the Brill Building in that period of time? Go find a movie called Grace of My Heart, which was Matt Dillon was in it, Ileana Douglas.
Oh yeah, she played Carole King.
Yeah, she played kind of a Carole King character. Bridget Fonda played like a Leslie Gore type of character. Matt Dillon played kind of like a Brian Wilson type of character, and John Turturro plays a great part as a Phil Spector.
Yeah,
kind of guy. And I didn't remember this, believe it or not. But you know what restaurant was located in the first floor of the Brill Building?
No.
Jack Dempsey's.
Really? I
I
thought
had
Dempsey's
forgotten
was
about
further
that.
downtown.
No, Jack Dempsey's Broadway restaurant was located in the Brill Building's first floor.
Wow. That I do not remember.
I had forgotten that, but
Because the Brill Building had that entrance with the curves,
well, yeah, it's got that huge
the big
entrance
door. Yeah.
with the big doors. It says over. I got a picture somewhere of myself standing in front of it. Um, and wow, it's just a rock. It's a yeah. I can't imagine that they didn't look at this building and say this is where the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame belongs. I mean, I know they stuck it out in Cleveland because somebody got paid something.
Somebody got paid Cleveland real money.
Somebody got paid something to put it there because you look at this, you look at these. I mean, I don't know this whole thing, and you say, "Good God, why is it not in New York where all of this went on? This was rock and roll. This was the birth of it. This was the place where it was all happening." Between 1619 and 1650. And at the time, people weren't, the Brill Building, I believe, back in the 90s was like half unoccupied.
There was room for new talent.
We could have built you something. Oh, man. Anyway,
Who was Brill, by the way? Was Brill anybody of importance, or were
Brill
they
was
just
a clothing manufacturer, I believe. I
so
believe
they
it
went
was a clothing manufacturer or a
they
hat
went they
manufacturer.
went from hats half sizes to rock and roll.
I think that was, let me go back here a second and see if it says.
The advice that Neil Diamond got from his uncle was, "You should have stood in half sizes."
Famous for housing music is the CVS. The Brill name comes from a haberdasher who operated a store at street level and subsequently bought the building. Um, the Brill building was purchased by 1619 Broadway Realty LLC in June 2013, underwent renovation during the 2010s. A CVS pharmacy opened on the first two floors of the building in 2019.
From Jack Dempsey to CVS. From
Well, at
Carol
least it
from
wasn't
Carol
Dwayne Reed, right?
from Carol King to prescriptions.
So yeah, from well, you could probably say that that was not the first time drugs were sold in that building.
Certainly not.
That was not the first painkillers that were
I'm here for my B.
transferred.
I'm here for my B12 shot.
Oh man! All right. So, what do you think for the Seahawks this weekend? Did they win?
Yeah, they do. They're lucky.
You think they beat the Cardinals? Huh?
Arizona's in tatters.
Well, I mean, it's a must-win for them because if they win and a couple other things happen, they can get into the playoffs. Um, I don't know that they necessarily belong in the playoffs, but you get in, you take your shot, right?
That's first you got to get in.
First, you got to get in, and I think that they'll. Yeah, I like their chances to win. I think Pete Carroll is a good enough coach that he's probably worked all week on trying to figure out what's wrong with the Seahawks, why their defense has become so porous, why he let Mike Tomlin come in and beat him like that.
And what's Bobby Wagner doing?
He's probably playing. He's probably one of the only guys on the team that's playing pretty good.
It's not enough. You need a team.
You need a lot more. Well, and again, Michael, they're a young team. But they're not as young as they were at the start of the season.
Nobody is.
You know. When you say it's a young team, it's like when you have a team full of rookies and you get to the playoff time and they're not rookies anymore.
They don't know how, but they've never been there before, so they don't know how.
You got guys on this team that have been there before, and they should be imparting that wisdom to the guys that aren't there anymore. So I'm hoping, I am hoping that they will rise to the occasion down in the desert. I would like to see them get into the playoffs. It's funny. We were talking about the Huskies before. You know what happened here Monday night, New Year's night? Did you
No,
have
tell
any
me.
idea what was played here?
No.
The National Hockey League's Winter Classic.
Oh yeah, the Kraken.
The Kraken played the Las Vegas Golden Knights. And while it was a sold-out game, I don't know that anybody was paying attention to the game.
Too much going on.
It did. I mean, I feel bad for the Kraken and the NHL because it's a great event. I didn't go because I was out of town until I was going to be out of town until that day. But I've been to a Winter Classic in Pittsburgh, and it's one of the great sporting events that you'll ever go to. But unfortunately, the Huskies were involved in a tight game, and half of Seattle didn't know that it was happening there.
Yeah.
Well, they knew it was happening, but they weren't paying any attention to it. So, just a
Too
footnote
much.
to history.
Too much going on.
Yeah. Well, too much and not enough all at the same time.
Story of my life.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man. I will catch up with you Monday.
A morose, marauding Monday.
Well, it's going to be a Husky Monday. I mean, we're going to be getting ready for the game. We'll have the final thoughts. I'll give you my prediction. I know you gave yours today, but I'm going to wait till Monday to score my numbers. But let's get the Seahawks going, and hopefully, they can come out with a win and make a little noise in the playoffs. I don't expect them to win the Super Bowl, but it'd be nice if they whipped off a win.
Especially after they're showing against the Steelers. They got to show up this time.
I don't have a lot of faith in it, but maybe that's a game that will shock them into one last ditch attempt this weekend at getting in at pulling themselves into the playoffs. A team that, again, at the beginning of the year, everybody was surprised. Everybody was, wow, they were in the Super Bowl conversation for a few weeks.
They were.
But they figured out how to get themselves out of it. All right, Mikey, I will see you Monday if the Lord's willing the creek don't rise, pal.
No creek rising.
No creek rising. All right, take care of yourself, man. All of you take care of yourself, too. Remember, always peace, love, and Manischewitz, baby.
A lot of wine.
See you, Mikey.
See you, Ben.
See you all of you on Monday. Take care. Bye-bye.